Georgia Virtue presents the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast.
This is episode 265. This week, we have the Rockets' red flare, Baldwin escapes, cute cops, fleecing the fox, food deserts, can I get a chicken, stuffing politicians, Florida changes the death penalty, good credit scores get the shaft, and President Biden's second term. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is my partner in this endeavor, Representative Emeritus Ken Pullen.
Hey, good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah, how about the Atlanta Braves also being 14-5 this year?
As
off
we
to a
record.
hot start. Yeah, as we record. Hopefully 17-5 after this weekend.
Yeah, and with a roster that's been depleted.
Yes. Yeah, they're playing really good this year. And I haven't watched a game yet. Is it small ball or are they knocking it out of the park?
Long ball.
Okay. Gotcha. So all home runs. Yeah,
not all, but yeah, they've been playing long ball, which is so streaky hitting the long ball like that. I prefer small ball.
Yeah, but hasn't there been a lot more steals in Major League Baseball this year because of the pitch clock basically and runners been able to time it a little better?
Yeah, there have been.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Well, the disadvantage the pitchers have is they only have 2 disengagements per batter.
Yep, that's what.
So
if
he steps off a second time, you could walk to second base. There's nothing he can do about it.
Right. So you just get a big lead and take off then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I can't remember what the new rules are ridiculous. There's a new rule that they're trying out, and I think the Eastern Carolina League or something like that allows a designated runner.
Okay.
So if you have somebody who is not particularly fast but a good bat, he can hit, and then his designated runner would come in, and then they could both come back into the game.
Oh goodness, that's too confusing. You know,
it is too confusing.
Yeah, I mean, I play a lot of golf, and the USGA is making a lot of golfing rule changes, which some of them are good, but then they're also starting to try to separate the pro players from amateur players, and I'm not a fan of that at all. But you know, some of the rules are good, and some of them are not good at all. So it's interesting that all these leagues, and a lot of it has to do, it feels like, with speeding up either the game of baseball or a round of golf. So it's, you know, how can we implement rules that make this event quicker?
Yeah, and I think that has to do with TV space and all that stuff.
And people's attention spans.
Yeah, and that's the same thing.
Yeah,
the people's attention span. Now, the same people that complain about a baseball game going 4 hours and being 3-2 would have no problem doing the same time watching football come out 21-14. It's still the same number of scores.
I know. The football commercials now, they've almost ruined the NFL with all the TV timeouts. I went to a Falcons game last year. Every TV timeout's 3 minutes long. It's not a fun experience anymore going to a game, in my opinion. College games are a little different, but NFL games are, yeah.
In college, you're there for the pageantry. You sit down and you watch halftime because you want to see the bands.
Right.
You know, I'm a Gator, and the new tradition is start at the third quarter is to sing Tom Petty, Won't Back Down, or the end of the third quarter.
Right.
And that was a spontaneous thing. They were just playing it on over the speakers after Tom Petty died, and you know, everybody started singing along. The band tried to play, and they booed the band down and kept singing with Tom Petty. Well, now that we've gotten the sports out of the way.
Yes.
So Musk goes boom. His heavy rocket on Thursday got a successful launch. And then, as the engineers on the broadcast put it, a rapid, unscheduled disassembly.
Yeah, and when did this happen? When when the plane was, or the ship was trying to so one of the pieces had to go, the other piece had to fall back down to the earth. I know that's a very technical description of what was occurring, but I think during that process, it just blew up over the Gulf of Mexico, right?
Yeah, I mean, when it was trying to disengage the first booster, I guess it didn't the way it was supposed to. So it started going haywire with, I don't know exactly what happened with, maybe the second engine was trying to fire and the second one. Mm-hmm. So it goes haywire, sort of like if you take the stick off of a bottle rocket, right? And then it went boom. I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't a red button somewhere under somebody's desk when it started going haywire and hit it and destruct that sucker before it comes back to land.
Yeah, where does this, I mean, all this just falls down in the Gulf. I guess if you're that one unlucky person out there in your fishing boat, just a bad day, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but look, the odds are astronomically against that happening.
Yeah, it's like the odds of getting hit by something coming from space, right? Or you got a better chance of winning a lottery. When
Skylab came down, they kept talking about it hitting Australia and all this stuff. Like, no, what's the world? 70% ocean?
Right.
Just off of that, there's a 70% chance you're not going to hit land.
Yeah, so the point of this mission, it sounded like, or this test flight, was to eventually send people and cargo to the moon and to Mars. How far are we away from sending people back to Mars at this point?
Decades.
So it's still a ways off.
Do I think we can get back to the moon? Sure. We've already got capsules that unmanned capsules that are. Or actually, we do have manned capsules that are circulating the moon. So landing is not that difficult at that point. I'm sure some engineer would tell me how hard the math is, but theoretically, if you can get within 70 miles of the surface of the moon, you should be able to set it down.
Right.
Mars is a different issue because you're talking about months in zero G.
Who was the actor that flew to Mars in that movie? I thought we'd already landed on Mars.
Was that Matt Damon?
Matt Damon, yes. That was a book that came out about landing on Mars and all the interesting things that happen once you got there.
Well, I'm old. There was a movie called Robinson Crusoe on Mars.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to go to Mars. It's just inhospitable.
Yeah, I mean, the rovers and all that stuff to collect all the data we want. I'm not sure what Mars does for us as far as return on investment.
So Elon Musk this week had a rocket explode. He took everybody's blue check marks away from people on Twitter, and then Tesla stock went down about 10%. So Elon's had a tough week. It sounds like everything happens in threes.
I'm sure he will have to go home and cry on the shoulder of one of his 10 girlfriends.
I wonder how he splits his time between SpaceX, Tesla, and Twitter.
Depends where the cameras are.
He's got a lot more time on his hands than I do.
Yeah, we got that time by not having time on his hands.
I just choose not to.
Yeah, you underachiever. I think for the most part, SpaceX handles itself. He shows up for the launches. There's not a whole lot that Musk, as smart as people think he is going to add to a conversation with literal rocket scientists.
Right.
I mean, he may walk into a meeting and go, can we do this? And they say, okay, we'll work on it. He walk out. But as far as the nuts and bolts of the day-to-day, no, I don't think he's involved.
Gotcha.
Probably not in Tesla either. I think he's at a high level with Tesla, and he makes decisions like we're going to drop the price of this and all that.
I think he spends most of his time on Twitter now. It feels like. I know I know he tweets a lot.
Tesla is sitting on tons of cash. They're fine. It's not that they adjust their price target back down to $50. I mean, he's still the stock price is almost 300, even with it down.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if you saw the story, and not to go off topic here, off script, but I saw a story this week where Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House in Washington, is trying to reduce the budget for next year, and they're trying to cut out some of the electric car subsidies and how those are set up. So with Georgia being such an electric car, starting to produce a lot more electric cars, it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. And I know Governor Kent wrote a letter to both of our senators this week, expressing they're kind of saying about his displeasure around this and trying to figure out a solution where Georgia could still be a electric car sort of capital of the U.S. and ensure that people get subsidies for buying electric cars. Because if the subsidies are cut out, then we're probably not going to produce as many electric cars in Georgia. There's not going to be as many sold in Georgia either.
Look, Rivian is a failure. I know Kemp is trying to salvage it. I've now seen, I think, 2 in the wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've only seen a couple.
They're ugly as homemade sin.
Yep.
Look, the technology to support an all electric is decades away. Right. We just don't have the infrastructure for it. And for Kemp, a Republican, to stand up and stomp his feet and go beg 2 Democrat senators for more subsidies from the government,
I thought that was
makes him a damn hypocrite.
Yes.
So anyway, how was your 420? Did you roll one?
No, I think no rolling in the household.
Well, Bullock County Sheriff's Office decided they're going to be cute. We'd not be doing our jobs if we didn't tell you not to smoke on 420. But seriously, just say no. Don't fall victim to peer pressure. Marijuana is a gateway drug. It can ruin your life. Think before you act. Shut up.
Yes, I agree. I'm tired of the cute law enforcement post. Hey, I got tons of great friends in law enforcement, but I will pick on them when we get cutesy with the law enforcement post. I think the worst ones I see are stuff like this, and then also advertising civil asset forfeiture and the cars that they've confiscated from people or the money. I'm not a fan of these cutesy posts.
Yeah, there was one up that Billboard talked about, turning in your ex and
right.
Stuff like that.
I saw that one.
Just quit with the cute posts.
Yep.
Look, if you want to put something out that says, we know it's 420, but we'd like you to remind you that recreational marijuana is not legal in the state of Georgia and we'll put you in jail for it. Fine.
Yep.
That's a statement. The we'd not be doing our jobs. Yes. No, you can do your job just fine. Keep your mouth shut and go enforce the law.
I agree with you. I did see I did see where legal weed in the U.S. last year topped $30 billion in sales.
You see, Mike Tyson is selling ears.
No, I've missed that.
He's got a weed company and he's selling ears that have a bite out of them.
Oh my goodness!
I think he cut Holyfield in on it too. Cheech was on Fox Business last night with Kennedy because he owns a weed company also, as you can imagine. But look, the public perception of marijuana has changed. And look, I'm not a pot smoker. 420 to me was just a Thursday to get up and go to work.
Same here.
But I also don't think that somebody who likes to sit around a campfire and burn one every once in a while is a bad person. I just don't care. Also, the whole gateway drug is right out of the 70s.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you don't smoke a joint and go, you know what? I've heard a lot about heroin.
Yeah, let me go shoot some heroin. Yeah, so Americans, it said last year, spent roughly $30 billion on legal marijuana compared to $20 billion spent on chocolate. So Americans now are spending more on weed than they are chocolate. And sometimes those two are combined, right?
Yeah, I was about to say, what about the weed-infused chocolate bars?
What about a weed-infused?
Yeah, look, in places where it's legal, look, I don't like the smell of pot. I've got a neighbor that smokes weed, and it annoys the hell out of me when I've got the outside door. I've got a wraparound porch. Got a door that goes out on the porch. I leave that open to the bedroom, and the front door open to get a nice cross breeze when it's beautiful weather like we've had.
Mm-hmm.
And then the skunk comes out.
Yeah, I think a lot of people now are putting it in these vape pens and just doing the THC in a vape pen, so you don't get the smell, but you still get the high, I guess, that comes with it.
Yeah, or edibles or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of edibles.
I just don't care.
I know, me either.
So Fox is having to come off with some serious cash.
Yeah, so there's this lawsuit, Dominion Voting Systems, who makes all the voting machines in Georgia and I guess a lot of other states around the nation also. Over the last couple of years, there's been this stop the steal, and Fox News was sued by Dominion. And before the case went to trial this week, well, it was scheduled to go to trial in New York City, they settled, and Fox has to pay Dominion $787 million to avert a trial.
And look, the trial would have been held in New York City.
Yeah, so you're going to lose the trial. They were suing for $1.6 billion, so they got away with about half of what Dominion was asking.
But you know who really lost? The lawyers. The lawyers that would have had another 18 months of billing time towards this thing. And on both sides.
Big losers.
Yeah, on both sides. I mean, even if you're defending Fox News and you know you're going to lose, they still have an entire legal staff to pay.
Yep. Now, a lot on the left are upset that this actually settled because they wanted this averted Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson from having to issue apologies, which I think is what the left wanted. They wanted Sean and Tucker to say they were wrong and, blah, blah, blah. But so this basically said that, we're going to pay the $787, no apologies from us, no admitting to any more wrongdoing on our part.
Yeah, I'm kind of over Sean and Jesse and those pundits. It's just the same shtick over and over and over with Tucker. And look, when I see them off script and they're on somebody else's show, it's different. So I know it's a shtick they're doing. It gets tiresome. But then again, I watch Kennedy, and a lot of people find her tiresome because of her antics.
Yeah, I like Kennedy though. She's more libertarian, small L libertarian than the rest of them. So, and she has some good guests on. She has Spike Cohen on from time to time, and other people that are in the liberty movement. Yeah, Shane. So she has a lot of people on the liberty movement, and they have some actually pretty good debates, substantive debates.
I mean, a guest we had on this show is a regular on Fox Business with Kennedy.
No, I like her show.
Whole Foods is bailing on San Francisco, and Walmart is bailing on Chicago.
Yeah, so Whole Foods opened less than a year ago in San Francisco. They're shutting up, leaving. Half of the Walmart locations in Chicago are leaving Chicago, and it's all because of the crime. You've got, and I saw story after story this week of looters going into Walmarts and others, CVS, Walgreens around the country, taking trash bags and just piling them up full of stuff and walking out. So, good for Walmart and Whole Foods of saying we just can't stay in these areas anymore because of the crime and the looting that's occurring within our stores.
Look, I'm going to go and say, if the government is not going to protect private entities, they should have the authority to protect themselves.
They should, and they're just not. They can't though. I mean, none of the workers. I think the companies are telling their workers don't do anything because they don't want them in harm's way.
Of course they are, because the lawsuit is way more. I'm talking about a security guard.
Yeah, that's higher security,
and start popping people when it starts getting dangerous to be a thief.
Yes, they'll stop.
You'll stop seeing petty thieves. Look, I don't blame either one of them. I mean, when we talk about San Francisco, we talk about Chicago. You're in Chicago a good bit. If you stay in the touristy areas, if you go to Wrigley, you're fine.
Right.
If you're around where most of the nice hotels are, the nice restaurants, you're probably fine. But that's not Chicago any more than right then the aquarium is Atlanta.
Right.
If you flew to Atlanta and all you saw was the airport and that area right where the Mercedes-Benz Stadium is, and you can walk over to CNN, you can walk to the you're like, oh, this is a super safe city. No, go 300 yards in any direction.
Yep.
So that's
very similar to Atlantic City. I was once up there, and Atlantic City to boardwalk is fine, but if you literally go 100 yards inland, you are in a really, really rough area.
That's a lot of places like that. Charleston's like that. When you go to Charleston, you get off the interstate and you are in a really bad neighborhood, and then you cross one street and everything's beautiful, and then you find out the way Charleston cops do that is if you're out of place, if you look out of place, if you have a local tag and you don't look like a tourist, you're getting asked, what are you doing here?
Right.
Now, do I agree with that policing? No, but that's what municipalities do to protect their moneymakers, their tourist areas.
Yeah, and the new mayor of Chicago this week spoke out against Walmart leaving, saying he was basically leaving neighborhoods with no other means for the people in the neighborhood to buy groceries. But, I mean, he fails to address the problem. He just gets upset at Walmart for leaving, but won't say anything to the actual people doing the looting. And, there's no accountability here whatsoever. It's just Walmart, stay here, continue to get looted so people can get food without addressing the real problem. And this is going to continue to happen throughout the nation in these big cities.
Yeah, we're not going to prosecute. We're not going to arrest. But you don't have any right to close your store that
you got to keep your store
hemorrhaging cash through.
Right.
And look, I don't blame Whole Foods either. I mean, I've got a Whole Foods not far from me. There's one in Kennesaw, and I'll stop there for lunch every once in a while. But the D-bag level is rather high. A lot of man buns in there.
There are a lot of man buns. But
they've got a great salad and hot bar. For somebody like me who usually eats lunch on the run, if I'm near Whole Foods, that's a good place to get
They do. I've always been impressed by just being able to go in and go to the hot bar and have lunch.
Yeah. It's and you're in and out quickly and all that stuff. But as far as like shopping at Whole Foods, no, I just can't take that much vinegar and water. So Catoosa County allows you to have chickens, but they have conditions.
Yeah, I saw this coming from, and Catoosa County, for people that may not know, is right up on the border of Georgia, Tennessee, below Chattanooga. So it's as far north as you can go, very rural area up in North Georgia. And I saw this from a friend's Facebook page, up that way. Basically crack down on people. You can't, and the main headline I saw is you can't sell chicken eggs anymore. So if you have chickens in Catoosa County, do not try to sell your chicken eggs to your neighbors any longer.
First of all, egg money is centuries old.
Oh yeah, totally.
Especially when you talk about the 1800s in America, where women didn't work. They would supplement their husband's income with egg money.
Yeah, and with the price of eggs, over the last year going up to $5-6 a dozen, I assume that the Catoosa County wants their tax money.
Somebody will be smart, and they will give free eggs for a donation.
100%. Yeah, but some of the stipulations here, it was funny that. So if you have up to 1 acre of land, you can now have 8 chickens on your land, they have to be female chickens, so they have to be hens. And if you have more than an acre, you can have actually up to 12 chickens on your property. So thank you, commissioners in Catoosa County, for telling people how many chickens they can keep. But your chickens also have to be well maintained. They have to be adequately fed, watered, and otherwise cared for. I don't know if they have some kind of patrol going around making sure that chickens are fed in Catoosa County.
Yes, it's Officer Karen.
Officer Karen is now checking on people's chickens to make sure they've got enough chicken feed out in the yard. But
they can't be kept in multifamily, including duplexes.
Right,
which
have to be kept 25 foot away from any property line and 50 feet away from your neighbor's house.
Yeah, and the thing about the duplex is, if it's okay with the property owner, and they have the space for it, what does the county care if a duplex has a chicken coop?
Yeah, I don't know. This is
it's very odd to get into the specifics of livestock at the county level.
Yep. Yeah, this is kind of the age-old debate, though, and even when I was serving in the legislature, private property rights versus the rights of a governmental agency, whether it's a municipality or a county or the state. What are the rights of the private property owner to do whatever they choose on their land, whether it's to have chickens, whether it's to put a camper on, on your land, whether you can paint your house yellow. Like there's a big battle. And if you don't pay much attention to this, there's always this big battle, especially at the local level, on private property rights. And what can you do with your private property versus what can a county tell you to do?
If you want to be in somewhere more restrictive, go to an HOA.
Right.
Obviously you move out to the country to have a country lifestyle. If you have an acre of land, and you decide you want to keep chickens. I mean, some of this didn't need to be said, which is chickens shall not be allowed to trespass onto neighbor properties. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm sure the chickens know that, right?
Well, if a chicken gets out, what's the penalty?
I know.
Because I mean, Rick Ross had a damn buffalo get loose.
Yeah, he lived over in the Fat County area, right?
Yeah, I'm actually doing work on his guest house, and
that property is enormous.
It is, and I saw the offending buffalo.
Yeah, I think you've got a lot of, even where I live down here, we've got a lot of NIMBY people. I don't know if everybody's heard that term, but it's the not in my backyard people. So got a lot of people that live somewhere for a long time and have their chickens, and then all of a sudden the new people move in, and we've got issues with new versus old. And I feel like that happens a lot of times in counties like Catoosa, where, private property rights are being eroded because
it's
of
rural gentrification.
It 100%.
I'm going to move. Seven Hills out here is one of the nicer neighborhoods. It's a giant housing development, but it was built on the old dump.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still a transfer station. And you still have people who have been in this county for 2 days complaining about the transfer station being right where they bought their house. Well,
right.
You bought the damn house.
Yeah. Are people moving close to like a pig farm or a cattle farm and then complaining about the smell of the pig or cattle farm and wanting the county to come in and put regulations around, the farm that's been there potentially for hundreds of years with a family.
Yeah,
but you're right. It's rural gentrification. I hadn't heard that terminology before. That's exactly.
I just made it up. I just pulled that one from my buttocks. No, man, it's the NIMBY stuff is annoying. It's one of the if anybody's ever watched my board meeting, my board of zoning appeal meetings, I say very, very little unless I'm the co-chair. So unless I have to run the meeting, I say very little.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And that's it. I don't care. Like, you got to give me a compelling reason. And we have very little opposition anyway. You got to give a real compelling reason. Like, someone wants to put a pig pen right up on your property line. All right, that's a quality of life issue. We need to talk about that. But I want to put my horse barn within 35 feet instead of 50 feet of my property line. Motion to approve.
Yep.
So, speaking of getting livestock and getting fat, legislators did very well this session, apparently.
Yeah, I saw this in the AJC this week, but every year the AJC reporters that cover the Capitol come out and say, how much did lobbyists spend on lawmakers during a 40-day session? So this year it was back, what they said, to pre-COVID levels. The lobbyists spent $642,000 on meals for lawmakers this year. If you do a little bit of arithmetic here, that's $2,700 and change per legislator for meals throughout the legislative session.
Yeah. And you were talking about that too, is going out to Hal's or someplace like that, and it's
the levels and the spending level, $75 per legislator. That's what's in the rule book for Georgia. So what you see if you go somewhere like Hal's, that Dave, you can't eat for $75 at Hal's unless you eat a cheeseburger, I guess. What ends up happening is you have 2 or 3 legislators that will take lawmakers out, so you can get 75 times 3 worth of Hal's filet mignons
and dirty martinis.
And dirty martinis, yes, and nice Cabernet with your meal.
Yeah, this is an old story. But it's one that needs to be told over and over again because
I know. Look, what I think is a little silly though is lobbyists can take legislators out for dinner, but they can't donate to lobbyists during session. I find that a little ironic that I can go have a $300 meal, but I can't take $25 in donations from a person back home in my district that likes my voting record at the Capitol. So I find that a little ironic, that you can do this.
That does make it tough on incumbents. Of course, the party makes up for that. If you're a protected incumbent, you don't need to raise a whole lot of individual money.
No, they'll take care of you.
But yeah, coming up next session, you're going to talk about getting out towards the end of March, and it's time to qualify.
Yeah, election will be right around the corner. Yeah, you actually qualify during session. Yeah, so
it'd be easier. You're already at the Capitol. Just walk over to the Secretary of State and sign your forms.
No doubt. Yeah, so people may wonder who are the top lobbyists at the Capitol, and I think it would surprise you. So the trial lawyers were the biggest spender. So this is the Trial Lawyers Association of Georgia. But then the second, I thought this was very interesting, is the lobbyists for Superior Court judges. So they were the second biggest spender this session. So I find that a little ironic that these are Superior Court judges that are elected or appointed around the state. Their lobbyist organization spent the second most money taking legislators out. So obviously that's around funding and giving Superior Court judges raises and ensuring that their offices are funding adequately throughout the year. They've got to make sure that money continues to come in. So that's exactly why that's occurring. And then title pawn vendors were number 3. So all these title pawn shops, title pawns, card dealers, they lobby hard.
Well, the title pawn stuff is, if anyone actually got into it, it's a title pawn is a bear trap for poor people.
Yes, 100%.
I'm going to give you $2,500 on a $10,000 car at well above usury rates.
Oh, these rates can be 70, 80% sometimes, even up close to 100% interest. It's very predatory practice.
It is. I mean, that's it. Pawn shops less so. I mean, I know people own pawn shops, and pawn shop is usually your luxury item that you'll go in and pawn. I've known business owners who've had to go and pawn their Rolex to make payroll. And then when they get their receivables in, you go back in, you pay the 20% on top of whatever it is and get your watch back. But I've known business owners to do that to make payroll,
right?
Which not to kiss our own butts, but that's something that employees don't see. Is the business owner having to go to a pawn shop to make sure he can make sure that you have food on your table.
Yep.
But yeah, the title pawn is interesting to me that they're in the top 3. Trial lawyers doesn't surprise me because they don't want to eliminate any laws that lead people to go to trial.
Exactly.
All right, on the subject of trials, DeSantis signed a bill to ensure juries are to realign the number of jurors it takes to put a prisoner to death.
Yeah, I've heard of this over the last few years where states typically, for someone to receive the death penalty, after they've been convicted of a crime, then you have to have 12 out of 12 jurors to say this person, they have to vote yes for the death penalty. So Florida just passed SB 450 this week, which actually reduces that number of jurors down from 8 to 12 for the death penalty.
That's the death penalty is a difficult subject. Because most of the people that are put to death, I don't give a damn about. If you catch somebody molesting your child, you just pull out a gun right there and shoot them. No problem on me. If I'm sitting in that jury, it's nullified.
Right.
But I'm also queasy about the idea of the state putting people to death because the state gets it wrong all the time.
I am too. Hannah Cox is a death penalty. She's trying to get death penalty done away with in a lot of states. And she actually lives in Georgia now, but big time activist for that. She posted a study the other day that said 10% of people on death row are actually innocent. So, when I saw that stat, it really makes you kind of stand up and go, man, we're executing, the state is executing some innocent people here that are on death row. And does that make you feel good? And do you like that? And honestly, I don't.
I don't know if I believe the stat of 10%. Here's the deal. We don't know how many because we stop investigating once they're dead.
Right.
So, the Amnesty International, the Innocence Project, all those folks, it's not that they don't want to find justice for the family. It's that, all right, this one's done. We've got to move this off our docket, move on to the next one. But we see people that are released from life sentences, found not guilty. And a lot of times it's 30 years later when technology has advanced to the point where we can analyze the evidence better.
Yep. And the reason, what came out of this, or the reason this law passed, is if you remember the Parkland shooter a few years ago, he was up for the death penalty. And I forget how many people the Parkland shooter ended up killing. If I remember right, it was 40 plus, Dave. But when he went to his death penalty sentence, 3 jurors voted to spare his life. So that's what Governor Ron DeSantis said. He said he's proud to sign legislation that will prevent families from having to endure what the Parkland families have and ensure proper justice will be served in the state of Florida. So by taking it down from 12 out of 12 to 8 out of 12, his point is the Parkland shooter would have been on death row and, would be eventually, killed by the state of Florida or put to death by the state of Florida.
I have a theory that this will actually reduce the number of death sentences.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that's going to lead to a lot more people pleading out. And it may put innocent people in prison because their options are either you take life in prison or death in prison.
Right.
So that may lead to more pleads. I don't know. I think if it needs to be unanimous to convict him, it needs to be unanimous to put him to death.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think this is going to do what he wants to do. I don't like legislation that is written to address one thing that happened. This is not rampant through the state of Florida that killers are walking. That's not what's happening. This is in reference to one instance, one time, and a guy who still will never walk free in society.
No, he's going to die in jail. And this is, like you said, this is the governor down there not liking a jury verdict, and then the legislature getting together, passing a law that's directed at that one case. And so I'm not a big fan of legislation that does this.
Between death row and Smith State Prison, I'll take death row.
Yeah, Smith State down in South Georgia is terrible.
I'll take the 25 years in a private cell and the hot shot at the end rather than go and get shanked at Smith State Prison. I don't think they give you that option, but this is a good time to remind you that these are our opinions and not those of anyone not on the show or any respective company for which we may work, own, or otherwise associate ourselves with on a regular or irregular basis. Also, you can find other episodes and relevant stories over at thegeorgiavirtue.com. All right, the mule of the week. Last week was
tax filing day, April 18th this year. So this is an easy one for me. IRS is our mule of the week. I had to pay an exorbitant amount of taxes this year. And then I even got penalized, I was telling you, Dave, earlier, for not paying enough taxes throughout the year. So not only did I have to write the IRS a check for a nice, tidy amount of money, they did penalize me $280 for not paying them that money throughout the year.
And how much do you get back from them when you overpay?
Yeah, zero, right? With no interest either. Yeah, I don't think the IRS gives you money back with interest. Like you have to pay them if you're late.
That would be an interesting penalty for the IRS, wouldn't
I
it? Is
know it
to
would
have them pay the average 1-year T-bill rate to everything you overpay.
Oh, yeah, totally. And what's funny about the IRS is I filed my taxes on Tuesday. They had taken my money out of my account by Wednesday. And I'm not sure if you're owed money. Do you get your money back that fast, or is that just a one-way street where they
that's
come
a
in and
one-way
pull it?
street. Yeah, I did the same thing. I went to my investment guy, dropped some money in my separate employee pension, and then ran back over to the accountant's office, and she goes, "Just want me just to have it debited?" I said, "Yeah, that's fine." By the time I got home, that money was gone.
I mean, they take it fast. And what's
Yeah,
funny,
they do.
and look, we can thank Congress. I don't know if you've seen it lately, but the response time when people actually call the IRS is down, I think, like 85%. And this all has to do with Congress giving the IRS, what was it, $80+ billion last year. So they could hire, I don't know how many agents it was, but so it sounds like they fully staffed up all their agents now. And if you have a problem with the IRS, you're more than welcome to call and you will get a quick response time.
Or if you're Matt Taibbi, the IRS knocks on your door the morning you're supposed to testify before Congress.
Yeah, or they'll come after you a lot faster. So if you're a nonprofit that they don't like or a reporter that they don't like, yeah, they got plenty of people to come after you now.
Yeah, that was a line in The American President. Very liberal movie, but well made, where the president tells, it was Annette Bening, I'll call you. She goes, well, oh, I forgot. You got the CIA. He goes, actually, the IRS is a lot easier to find information on people. So work hard and live within your means. Screw you. Home buyers with higher credit scores and the down payment necessary, 20%, are now going to pay a penalty for having good credit and money to put down.
I know. And this is a new federal rule. So this is not legislation that was passed. This is just bureaucrats in D.C. up under the Biden administration putting a new rule in place that says, by the way, if you apply for a mortgage, you've got a great credit score of 680 or higher, and you're putting down 20%, we are going to put a new fee on that mortgage. So they're going from like a 0.25% fee up to 1% surcharge now on your mortgage.
And this is directly to subsidize subprime mortgages.
Yeah, it is. So if you have a 670 or lower score and you only put down 5% or less of your mortgage, the actual fee that you pay now is getting discounted. So think about that. If got a great credit score, putting down 20%, I'm going to have to pay more. But if I have a bad credit score and I put down less, I'm actually getting a reduction in the amount of fees I would pay.
Yes, this is specifically aimed at government supported mortgages like Fannie, Freddie, FHA. They don't mention it, but I assume VA would be exempt from this because it says private mortgages.
Right, private mortgages. Yep. This is if you're taking out a mortgage of Wells Fargo or your local credit union or any of those guys, you're going to get hit with this fee.
It's like they didn't live through 08.
No, I thought this was this is exactly, it feels like a template of 08 where in 08 you could go buy a house without disclosing income or debts. It's like basically just signing your name on the dotted line. Yeah.
Interest only.
Interest only, no down payments.
Yeah, interest only, 10-year balloon notes.
Yep.
Which, look, if you do what I do for a living, interest only is fine because I'm highly seasonal and cyclical. So in fall and in spring, you pay interest only, and when you have winters or obviously in Georgia summers, I would be able to pay more towards it. Mm-hmm. But what these folks were doing, these 9-to-5ers, was they were getting a interest only loan, and then their DTI, the debt to income, looks really low, so they go out and buy a car, and
right.
and then they finance all this other stuff, And when it gets to be 9.5 years, the bank's like, hey, we got to do something about this principal. And now their debt to income is too high to qualify for traditional mortgage, and they lose the damn house.
Right.
You know, the subprime stuff from Dodd-Frank, Bonnie Frank, if you remember him.
I do.
His thing was home ownership is a basic human right. So the federal government needs to step in. And the banks, what the banks were forced to do, everybody wants to blame the banks, now it's government. What the banks were forced to do is you'd have to package some bad loans in with good loans to securitize them.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're doing is you're getting the average is a decent loans. You have some really good, some really bad, and the folks that are buying this paper know that they're going to lose a certain percentage. Well, when those certain percentages started to go back to the bank, started to go back to Fannie and Freddie, Freddie actually had a program where they would take your house and then rent it back to you at income qualified rates. And then, because now it's a rental house, Freddie was on the hook for paying for all the repairs.
Oh, nice. So now the government's paying every time I need light bulbs replaced.
Air conditioners.
Yeah.
People who didn't have air conditioning for 2 years when their house was going into foreclosure, all of a sudden belongs to somebody else. Got to be fixed. Got to have new stuff. They have to meet federal housing requirements.
Well, this new rule starts on May 1st. That's what I found very strange about this is I just read this article this week, end of April, and this is taking effect May 1st. So not only are interest rates rising across the nation, and they're up to, I think I saw where a 30-year now is 6.75, but now, so you're going to go in and take out a loan for 6.75, you're actually going to get hit by the surcharge if you get a good credit score. Dave, my biggest problem with this, again, is one of my biggest problems is these new rules that just bureaucrats are making. So this did not come from any legislative body. It's just a bunch of guys in D.C. making rules that have no really oversight on them. I guess Congress could call them in to ask them about this rule, but at the end of the day, nothing's going to change here.
Well, they say on a $400,000 house, it would add to the average mortgage $40 a month, which doesn't sound like a lot until you realize, I mean, that's almost $15,000.
Yeah, it is, right.
And I don't know if it's going to affect refis. The whole rule's not out yet, or that at least we've been able to see. But at least for home buyers, the $40 a month is a $400,000. And look, in Metro Atlanta, $400,000 is not a super nice house.
No, it's not. I mean, most houses, what, $600 to $800 now in the metro area?
Yeah, if you get a little closer to Atlanta, out here, 450, 500 is a pretty nice house. I mean, obviously, even some like in Bentwater and Seven Hills area, which is the area I was talking about, where the dump was, in a neighborhood upwards of $1 million.
Mm-hmm. Not cheap.
I don't know. Personally, if I spend $1 million, I don't want to be in a neighborhood.
Same here. Yeah, I'm in an HOA, but HOAs are not a lot of fun to be in.
No, man, I want to be able to see you coming from, 1,000 yards out down my driveway if I spend $1 million.
HOAs sound a lot better until you actually get into one, and then they're really bad.
Well, yeah, but you buy it because you drive the neighborhood and everything looks so nice.
I know.
And you don't realize what the iron fist it takes to keep it looking like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then your neighbors rat you out. Oh, you see the Polans didn't take the trash can in last night.
I know, didn't shut their garage during the day.
Yeah, he had his boat in his driveway for the entire weekend.
Hey, but look, Dave, the country's getting further and further out now. I used to think we lived in the country, and we are Metro Atlanta almost, it feels like now.
Yeah, I mean, look, you get some of those ladies that go on there, they have nothing else to do. The kids are in school. It's a little too early to open the bottle of wine. So let's go on a walk, and everybody's got a camera in their pocket now with the phone, If you see something, they just snap pictures. Trash can lid is off. Garage door was left open. Oh, look, he's got chipping paint on some of the fascia board. But hey, you signed the agreement. All right, so congratulations to President Biden on a second term.
Yeah, I thought this was a catchy little title. As we drop the show next week, President Biden will be announcing that he is running for a second term. So there was some people that thought he might not, but he is. And look, I know I'm being kind of facetious here, but I think Donald Trump at this point has secured the nomination for the Republican Party. And I don't know about you, but I don't think President Trump can beat anybody next year. And this was just like Herschel Walker. I told all my friends, Herschel Walker has no chance of winning. Nominate anyone except Herschel. And the Republicans nominated Herschel. They're going to do the same thing with Trump. And they're going to nominate President Trump again. And he's going to have zero chance of beating President Biden.
I think you can get crossover voters in the primary, where you know that the sitting president is going to get the nomination.
Oh, 100%. Democrats want Trump to be the nominee. Yes.
Yeah. So you get Democrats that'll cross over in states like Georgia and vote for Trump because that's who they want to face. They don't really want to face a DeSantis.
Yeah, and I thought DeSantis was going to do better and have a better. I mean, he hasn't declared for president yet, but he has had a really botched rollout so far. His book tour didn't go well. He's having some issues down in Florida. The law we just passed was I'm not sure many people know about that, but I don't like that. And then he went up to D.C. this week. And while he was in D.C., sitting members of Florida's congressional district endorsed President Trump. So he can't even get the people in his state now, legislators, to endorse him next year. He's having a really, really rocky rollout.
Oh, and look, a lot of that is fear of Trump.
It is, yes.
As far as the lawmakers endorsing him, is you really don't want to end up on his bad side. At this point, look, the rollout was too slow, has been too slow, and continues to be too slow. He's played this willy-won't-y game. And look, I don't blame him for doing that because there's no reason to declare as early as Trump did. But when he painted himself, I think Kellyanne Conway said it on one of the shows I watched, that when he came out as the anti-Trump option, he really screwed up with Republicans. Instead of coming out as anti-Biden, is coming out and not hitting Trump. And now these pro-Trump PACs are nailing DeSantis.
Oh, yes. They've come out with 2 or 3 ads already hitting DeSantis. They've really come out hard. I've been sort of surprised to see how it's come out this early, but Trump's pounding him early. He doesn't want him to get any momentum as the primary approaches next year, and it's working.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad strategy. Is don't give him any air. Don't let him breathe. Make him start spending money before he even declares.
I agree. And the more people, what I'm seeing, like in Georgia, Governor Kemp is obviously not a President Trump fan. And this week he talked to the RNC, and he went on a couple talk shows over the weekend. He said, we have to tell people, this is a quote from Governor Kemp. He said, we have to tell people, number one, what we're for. And number two, that we're going to be focused on the future and what we're going to do for voters in our state or the American people, and not continuing to look backwards. So that's definitely a hit against Trump because Trump continues to relitigate the last election and, this voter, stolen dominions, switching votes and all that stuff. And Governor Kemp's like, we got to look into the future and tell people what we're up for. I'm not sure Republican voters care, Dave. I think we're still rehashing the 2020 election. And I think that's a winning message for Trump right now is the election was stolen and I'm your guy.
It is in the primary. It is not in the general.
No, it's not in the general at all. No,
in the general, he needs to be hitting against the January 6th commission. Needs to be saying, I'll pardon them on day one. he needs to be doing that stuff to get civil libertarians. I'm not talking about big L's. I'm talking about the little L's that are on the left and right of libertarianism that believe in civil liberties.
Yep.
And come out and say, this is what I'll do on day one. I'm not thrilled about Trump. Biggest part is they already waited him out for 4 years once. I mean, they did it. They waited him out. What makes you think that he's going to be any more successful in getting any permanent changes done?
Right.
Did he reform the tax code?
No.
What's that?
And look, no, I liked Trump when he came in, but he surrounded himself with a lot of Republican establishment guys in D.C. He did not have a great record on gun control or the Second Amendment, and I'd love to have somebody disagree with me on that. But he actually banned bump stocks, and there were other gun items that he did not have a great record on. And look, on the national debt, it blew up under Trump. And I know some of that was with COVID coming around, but Trump, I mean, if you really look at the record of Trump, it was not great.
It's going to be interesting to see them dance around the vaccine.
Yes.
Because they're both guilty on that one.
Yeah, totally guilty.
Trump pushing it through, getting it fast-tracked. Trump first starting the shutdown. And we know now that did nothing to curb COVID and did everything to help destroy the economy. He started the inflation with the checks going out with his signature on them.
Yeah, the Trump checks.
It's going to be very hard for him to draw separation between the two of them. He's going to have the border, and the penalties that the government has been paying to the contractors for not continuing the work.
Mm-hmm.
He'll have the border, but that's got to be strong. I don't know if that's a strong enough subject for the CNN watcher.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. And
look,
I tell you,
he's already got the Fox News people.
Yep.
The people that turn on Fox News at 7 o'clock in the morning with Fox and Friends and turn it off with Hannity at night, those people are already voting Republican.
Right.
You need the people that flip around. You need the people that read CNN, that read PMSNBC.
Yeah, it's the 5% in the middle now that are really controlling elections. It's that 5 to 10%. Everybody else is in their own camps in general elections.
Now he may be able to hammer on Ukraine. That's quite possible.
I think that's a winning message.
Yeah, and maybe China. And say, look, China.
China
is come out and say, look, when they took the tariffs away, they funded the Chinese military, which I truly believe is every time you buy a pair of Nikes, you're funding the Chinese military. But so those on the international stage are winning issues, especially Ukraine. The money that we're pouring into Ukraine.
Yeah, Ukraine's a total winning message in a general primary or in a general election.
And if he can keep his cool in a debate, I want to see 3 general election debates, and I would like to see. I assume Trump at this point is going to be the nominee. Keep your cool. Don't talk over each other. Let Biden talk, and then just point at him and go, does anybody know what the hell that guy said?
Yeah, Biden's going to have a tough time. Yeah, and the last thing for me on this topic, I mean, the more the establishment Republicans come out against President Trump in a primary next year, the more people in rural Georgia are going to support Trump. So I know Governor Kemp is a DeSantis guy, or he's a never Trumper at this point, but that's just going to give Trump more popularity in the rural areas. I mean, people love the guy that's not loved by the establishment. So you let the Chris Christies of the world come out against Trump, more people are going to love Trump. It's just that simple.
And look, it'd be nice if during the primaries, instead of attacking each other, they said, here's my plan. And the other guy says, this is my plan. If I win, you support me. If you win, I support you, and put it out to the voters. But that sort of civility just doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think those days are long gone.
If they ever existed.
If they ever existed. Yeah, I'm not sure they did.
I mean, look, Reagan had a rule: never attack a fellow Republican. And that's how I think Bush ended up being his vice president, was they didn't hit each other.
Yeah, I hear that Reagan rule all the time, but look, even in a GOP within Georgia, all they do is have infighting, and you'll have people come out one day and say, never hit another Republican, and then the next day they're attacking one of their fellow Republicans. I sort of chuckle when I hear people say that.
And that really has to do with national politics, the local stuff. Look, if you're running for state rep out here, the primary's it. That's your election. Everything else is a formality. Don't get caught with a dead girl or live boy. That's it. Don't do anything stupid. Keep going to the chamber luncheons, knock on doors. Don't do anything stupid.
That's it.
For the next 6 months, and you're in. The majority of the money is at least the private money is spent during the primary.
Yeah, you're giving away money to general.
So that's where you get things like the Senate race we had out here a couple of years ago, where a flyer went out insinuating one of the candidates was gay. Another thing got floated out that Jason Avatarde, who is of Puerto Rican descent, also an American. His father, who came from Puerto Rico, is an American because he was born in Puerto Rico.
I saw that.
And I believe a vet, I know, but I think he was a Vietnam vet. Is he qualified to run for office? Like, oh God, what is wrong with people? So anyway, running long, Kenny, what you got for final thought?
Yeah, real quick. Jeff Jackson, a new Democrat congressman for North Carolina. I'll just be real quick, but he actually came out this week against all this fake outrage by colleagues in D.C. So, look, I appreciate this guy. We've got a lot of fake outrage on both sides of the political spectrum. I like this new guy for calling out fake outrage by his own colleagues, members of his own party. I appreciate that. I'm going to have to take a look at this Jeff Jackson guy from North Carolina and actually see what kind of substance he has. But, I'm like you, Dave. I hate all this outrage on both sides of the political spectrum. It just continues to keep us divided. So good for this guy of actually calling it out.
He's put it on an act too. Yeah, he's trying to come off as the reasonable guy. Look, I said for years that they'll yell at each other on the floor, and then as soon as the cameras are off, slap each other on the back going, "Where are we going to dinner tonight?"
Oh, all the time.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure that happened to you guys at the Capitol when you were there.
Yep, all the time.
They call you evil and you want to kill babies and everything else, and then the gavel comes down. It's like, all right, so Hal's?
Sounds where good. We're going to lunch.
Yeah. My closing thought is I've got a customer I've had for several years. True American success story. Immigrated. He's African. Immigrated. His kids are awesome. One played in the Twins organization for a while. The other is head of baseball operations in a minor league. But when you meet young people that have something going on, that they can interact. A while ago, I met his son that was playing with the Twins, and first of all, the kid is built like Jason Hayward. I mean, 6'7", python arms, and just nice as he could be, polite as he could be. I met his daughter this week. He had a surgery, so his daughter was helping take care of him. I had to. Obviously, recovering from surgery, having no air conditioning sucks. So, but it's so nice to see when you get away from the political spectrum what real life is like, and totally meet quality people that raise quality kids who in turn will see what a functional family looks like at home, and they know they can transfer that into their families, and because you see what a partnership between a husband and wife are in raising kids and sacrificing for yourself to provide for them. And that's what they'll do for their kids. Yep. So that's my thought with that is totally non-political. So on that thought, big thanks to Eric Cumby, who takes our audio and turns it into something to listen to. Ken Pullen, my partner in this endeavor. I'm Dave Roberts. Have a great week.
Catch me howling at the moon.